Now, many people living in flats where cladding needs replacing following the Grenfell Tower disaster say that they are facing life-changing costs. And that is despite a law which is intended to protect them. It's called the Building Safety Act. It was brought in a couple of years ago to ensure that residents didn't have to pay. And it has to be said, some progress has been made. Now, government figures suggest that nearly 4,000 residential buildings across the country have unsafe cladding. And work to fix those cladding problems has been done, as you can see, at about a fifth of them. But 2 years ago, the government estimated that there could actually be more than 8,500 buildings between 11 and 18 metres high which needed remediation work doing. And campaigners here say that many leaseholders are still facing long waits and they're left with bills of thousands of pounds, as Phil McCann reports.
For Josh, this was home. Before he had to wrap up his furniture, he'd been living for 10 years here in Skyline Chambers in the up-and-coming Noma district in Manchester.
This building that you see along here with no lights on it is Skyline Chambers.
But now Josh is living just down the street. He's one of around 180 residents who were all moved into temporary hotels and then flats after one night last October when Greater Manchester Fire Service issued this notice, forcing everyone to leave because the fire risk at Skyline was so serious.
There was people, as I walked into the lobby of the building, in tears, leaving with children in their arms, crying.
Risks have been known about here and at thousands of other buildings for years, since shortly after the tragedy at Grenfell Tower.
You live with that every day, and you do remember what happens in Grenfell, and it does go through your memory, and you think, what if it's us next time?
And I had wanted to try and sell the property for quite some time, but then Grenfell happened and flats were valued at zero.
And flat owners like Liam haven't been able to sell.
We were innocent. We didn't know anything about this when we bought these properties. And, you know, we're caught in the middle.
There's been a dispute here between the building's owners and the government over the work needed and over whether a government fund will pay for some of it. The owners, Wallace Estates, say they didn't build the building and so they're not to blame. The owner of this building has now agreed to do the work that's needed to make it safe. It's doing the same with this building over here, another one in Salford, and this building just over here. Now, the government had taken the company to a tribunal, but just before a hearing was due to take place last month, the company agreed to do the work. And at that tribunal, the government was intending to use the Building Safety Act. That act was passed 2 years ago to ensure
that no leaseholder living in a building above 11 metres will ever face any costs for fixing dangerous cladding.
And here at this block in Castlefield in Manchester, new cladding like this has been installed and work is about to finish, and the residents haven't had to pay for it. Giles lives here and he's a cladiator, a cladding campaigner, who says loopholes are leading to long-running disputes at many places like Skyline.
The funding isn't always in place for all the safety defects. The government will say, OK, the building owner will fix that. The building owner turns around and said, actually, I don't have the money to fix that.
On top of that, people who own more than 3 flats still have to pay, as well as those in buildings less than 11 metres high. Landlords groups say the average landlord needs more support from the government. The government says the UK has some of the toughest building safety regulations in the world, but it says it knows more needs to be done, and faster. Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.